Hi everyone, and welcome to the Snipes USA module guide for PrismAIO. In this video, we'll be going over how to create Snipes USA tasks, and then in the second part, we'll be going over some more frequently asked questions regarding the Snipes module. Hopefully, this video at the end should help clarify any questions that you might have about creating Snipes tasks and running the Snipes module. Alright, so let's start off by creating a Snipes task group. First things first, you gotta make sure you're on the task group page. Go ahead and click this button that says New Task Group. You can name it whatever you'd like. For this example, Snipes USA works. And then on the drop-down menu, you're going to make sure you go ahead and select Snipes. And then you're going to click Create. Alright, so now we have the Snipes USA task group. Whenever we create a task group, first thing that I like to do is make sure that all my monitor inputs are entered in, and then we'll go ahead and create the task. So first things first, we see the monitor input and then the variance box. So these values are usually provided by the PrismAIO support staff, and we will make sure that we have them available for most of the profitable shoes that are releasing in the future. So let's go ahead and take a look at a previous guide. So we take a look right here. All right. So we have the Crimson Tint Nike Dunk Highs. So we're going to scroll down, and as you can see, here's the Snipes section. We have the Snipes drop time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to go ahead and copy and paste the monitor input from the guide into this box. All right, so now you can see it updated. It says product ID. Next, we're going to paste in the variants. So as you can see, we have the size before the variant in this box right here in the guide. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the actual variant value, paste it in here, and then let's say I want to run 6.5 as well. You want to make sure that every variant is on its own separate line. So I'm going to click enter and go ahead and paste it. And let's say I just want to run for size 6 and 6.5. You're more than welcome to just only run one variant, two variants, whatever you'd like, and you can go ahead and leave it that way. For this example, we're going to go ahead and include all of them. So give me 1 second. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. And most of the times we will have this available on the release calendar. So instead of having to manually do this every time, you can go ahead and just click the actual release, scroll down, find the Snipes button, and click it, and it'll automatically create a task group for you that has all the product ID and variants entered in. So in case you didn't know that feature was available, I definitely recommend you guys use it. All right, so now we have all the variants posted in. Next, we're going to choose your proxy list. We'll go over what type of proxies to use in the FAQ section. For now, I just have a default Snipes proxy list that I know works most of the time. So we're going to go ahead and it's already pre-selected. Delay, for monitor delay, you're always going to use 3500. I never really change this value when I'm running, so feel free to leave at 3500. All right, next we have CAPTCHA setting. So in terms of CAPTCHA, Snipes does require a CAPTCHA for each task to get into queue. So we definitely recommend, especially with the amount of tasks that you're normally running on Snipes, that you use a third-party CAPTCHA solver. If you wanted to use the inbot solver, you'd use default, but that would essentially mean you would have to solve a lot of CAPTCHAs, and you'd have to have a lot of harvester windows open. I personally like to use anti-CAPTCHA, so we're going to go ahead and select that. But also Cat Monster, 2Cap, all of them work. You can use AutoSolve as well, and we have separate written guides for AutoSolve implementation. So you can go ahead and check that out on the support page. All right, next we have the Statistics tab. So on this tab, I mean, this isn't really needed, but I personally like to have it open just so I can see, because if you start carding prior to the actual drop time, that means that you have set up incorrectly. You should not be carding prior to the drop. You should only be carding once the actual release starts. So definitely, if you start seeing carts, you already know right off the bat, okay, I set the drop time wrong. Next is scheduling. And a lot of people confuse this for drop time. So as you can see in the guide, we'll start right here. It says start fast mode task 1 hour before the drop. right? So a lot of people confuse that and they think that this value is the drop time. That is not true. So scheduling, what this essentially does, it will automatically start all the tasks that you've created at whatever time you set here. So if I were to set this at 10 a.m. and I was running fast mode tasks, which tell you to start 1 hour before the drop, basically fast mode, all my tasks would not work because you have to start fast mode an hour before the drop. And if I were to set it at this time, it just wouldn't work. So I personally don't ever use scheduling. However, let's say there's a situation where there's a lot of drops happening around 9 a.m. and you just know that you'll probably forget. So what you can do then, if you know the drop time is at 10 and you're supposed to start an hour before for fast mode, go ahead and set this to 9 a.m. That way, your task will automatically start without you having to manually click start all or start them one by one. They'll just automatically start at 9 a.m. So it's up to you if you want to use this feature. I personally don't. All right, so now let's go ahead and create actual tasks now, because as you see, everything's plugged in, looks good. All right, we're gonna go ahead and create a task. Go ahead and press that button, and it'll bring up this pop-up window to create tasks. Here, first thing is you can select a single profile, or you can select multiple profiles, or you can choose the profile group. So these are groups that you've created before in the Billings tab. For this example, we're just going to go ahead and choose one real profile. Next is the task delay. So when you're creating your actual task, you want to leave it at 3500. That's the default setting that we have it at. Task quantity, this is where you can choose how many tasks you want to create. Next, we have your task proxy list. So these are the proxies that your tasks are actually going to use. Most of the times, I just personally use the same proxy list as the monitor and task because I just know that it works on Snipes, so I might as well just use it for both. All right, next we have the whole variant section, and this is probably what matters the most when you're creating a task. So, and I know a lot of people do get confused by this, so let's go ahead and try to get into a little more detail. So, right here, if I click on this, if I have select variant and I click on this drop-down menu, it's going to list every single variant that I pasted in earlier in the monitor settings right here. So if I specifically wanted to create a task for size 6.5, I'm going to find that variant. And as you can see, if I click select variant here and I have one profile, it's going to create one task that has that variant using that profile. If I have another profile, it's going to create two tasks, but both with the same variant. Next, we have the one per profile. So right now, I have all the variants listed here. I only have one profile selected, so by that logic, it's only going to create one task. If I have two profiles, it's going to create two tasks, but use two different variants. And usually it just goes right down the list. And then finally, we have all per profile. For this, it's going to create a single task for every variant that you have for each profile. So right now, I have 10 variants in this list, so it's going to create 10 tasks. All right, so now we're going to go down, and let's say we choose two profiles. We have 10 variants, so it's going to create 20 tasks. It's pretty straightforward. So in this example, we're going to go ahead and choose the all per profile. And now, this is the part that a lot of people have trouble on. This is where your drop at is a drop at time. This is what corresponds to this drop time, 10 a.m. So we're going to go ahead and set it at 10 a.m. here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and set it at 10. All right, so we set it at 10. And we are gonna now go and choose the mode. So if you start carding, just to go back to the drop time, if you start carding prior to the release, your first natural thing should be to go click on your task, click edit, and see what the drop time is set at. And this is always based on what your local or what your system machine that you're running Prism time is. So for example, I personally, my computer, I run on local, and obviously sometimes I run on servers, but right now I'm running on local. I'm on Eastern Standard Time. My clock is set to Eastern Standard Time, so I'm going to set it at 10 a.m. If you're on the West Coast, you'd set yours at 7 a.m. It's whatever your local time is, you should always set it to the same as the release time. So just make sure that you are aware. So we see a lot of people, they start carding prior to the drop, and that's not what you want at all. All right, next we have two modes. So we have fast mode and safe mode. So fast mode basically will preload all your information, and it'll essentially just try to submit the order as quickly as possible right at drop time. Safe mode, and also fast mode, we do have a task limit. So if you see in this guide, it says fast mode has a task limit of 100 tasks per copy. However, we recently updated that, and now you can run 200 tasks per copy. So in this example, we're going to go ahead and click fast mode. Right now, it's only going to create 10 tasks, so we want to go up to the limit, create 200 tasks. Boom. All right, so now we have 200 tasks. Each task has a different variant. Obviously, because we only have 10 variants, it's going to repeat at some point. But there we go. We have all our tasks. And it's going to be the same thing as safe mode, the same process. All you got to do is you can even update all. Go to safe mode real quick. Let's say you just traded the wrong type. Go ahead and update, and there you go. All your tasks are now set at safe mode. So just something to note about Snipes. The Snipes module is locked outside of drop time. Obviously, we don't want our module to get clipped or not work outside of release time, so we do lock the module. And right now, if I were to run a task, we're just going to get a bunch of errors. Oh, actually, because we are on our testing copy right now, it will work. But as you can see, picks up the product. It's going to go ahead and solve PX CAPTCHA. And it's going to basically submit some information, and now it goes on to the countdown. So right now it's about 9:30 p.m. I set it to 10 a.m. and now it's on countdown. So that's pretty much how you create a task group and how to create tasks for Snipes. All right, so now let's go into the FAQ section. So in this section, we're going to kind of address a lot of the questions that people might have. They may be basic, some of them might be a little more complex, but let's get into it. All right, so the first question is, does Snipes USA cancel? And so typically Snipes USA does not cancel, but we still recommend running multiple profiles. So for example, like in this setup, I have 200 tasks all using the same profile. Probably not ideal. What I would probably do, and most times I have a profile group, let's say one per profile. Oh, I guess personal cards only has a couple cards in it. Oh, so actually I don't have a pre-defined profile group that has a lot of cards in, but if I wanted to, I could select a bunch of them and just vary it up that way and then create my tasks. And hopefully if I do hit multiple, they're on different profiles and they won't get canceled. Another thing to note is if you are using some different types of jigs, and by jig I mean address alterations, obviously you got to do them to make sure that you get multiple orders shipped, or else a lot of these stores have, one per customer policy. If I use certain jigs, they won't work. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to choose 10 a.m. There we go. All right. So if I run this right now, it's going to obviously pick up. It's going to solve. But when it goes to submitting customer information, it's probably going to say there's going to be an issue. So you see it says invalid address retrying. So if you see that and it continues to loop on this status, that means something in your profile is not accepted by Snipes. So definitely recommend checking that profile, making sure that everything's correct. A lot of times, I know a lot of people use, AYCD or different types of profile converters, and then they import it into Prism. And most of the times they do work, but just be careful. Sometimes, there's glitches, whether it be, in the actual profile converter software or the importing process. So just be careful. If you see that, just know that it's most likely a profile issue. All right, next question. When should I start tasks? So for fast mode, we unlock fast mode an hour before the drop, and that's when everyone should be starting. Safe mode, we recommend you start your task 3 to 5 minutes before the drop. Next question, what delays should I run? So for your monitor, it should always be at 3500. However, let's go ahead and create 20 again. Let's create some tasks real quick. All right, so let's say I have 200 tasks going. We're going to run 3 right now. And let's say these are safe mode tasks. I'm starting 3 minutes before or 5 minutes before the drop, anywhere from 3 to 5. Go ahead and wait. So now that they're counting down, what I would do is about 5 to 10 seconds before actual drop time, I'm going to go ahead and drop my task delays. So notice how I didn't touch my monitor delays, but you're going to set your task delays to 500 or 1,000. Anywhere between works. But basically, you're just trying to make sure that your tasks submit the order as quickly as possible. So I would normally run 500 to 1,000 about a minute out. So let's say drop time is at 10. I would run these delays until 10:01. And by that time, most of the times it's sold out. So fast mode tasks, I might then increase, or actually both type of modes, I would increase my delays back to 3,500 or higher if you want to just keep running for restocks. And just to note, again, we do lock the Snipes module eventually after drops. Snipes does like to restock throughout probably like an hour out from the release time, but eventually we will lock the module. So if you start seeing errors about an hour later, or even maybe 30 minutes later, that usually means that we just locked the module. All right, next question. What type of proxies should I run? So in terms of proxies, data center or ISP proxies are probably the best, just because speed is very important. Just like why we dropped the delays, the task delays right before the drop. You're just trying to go for speed, and especially since Snipes doesn't have like as much stock as like foot sites, for example. However, you just need to make sure that they're also good quality proxies. Some ISP proxies, just because they're ISP, doesn't mean that they're going to be able to work on Snipes. So if you don't have working proxies, then go ahead and use residentials, but try to get as quick residential proxies as possible. All right, next question. How do I get Snipe variants? So really, unless it's provided by the support team, we don't really provide a guide on how to get the variants. So you can either ask your cook group or whatever different type of sneaker group you're in. If there's ever a Snipes drop that we don't post a guide for, but you deem or you believe that it's profitable and that other Prism users might benefit from running, definitely go ahead, ping us in the support channel, ping us in the Discord, and we will try our best to get the variants for you guys. All right, and the final question. Do I need to solve CAPTCHA? So yes, for some of your tasks, you will need to solve CAPTCHA. We kind of handle a lot of it on our end, but at the same time, you will have to solve some CAPTCHAs. So that's why we have the CAPTCHA setting right here. I do recommend setting a third-party CAPTCHA solver like Anti-CAPTCHA, Cat Monster, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully this module guide helped kind of clarify a lot of the questions you might have. We hope to see more of you guys running it, and we have been having success. And the more people that run, obviously, the more success there's going to be, and the more tweaks that we can do to update the module to make it the best that we can. All right, appreciate your time, and have a good one, guys.